Anusara Yoga includes 5 principles of alignment. We can apply these to standing poses, seated poses, supine poses. You can apply to each of the poses that we do. So grab a chair that's not upholstered and come to sit in the chair. Sitting forward in the chair with your feet about hip distance apart. Now, hip distance apart is like if you put your 2 fists together, that would be about the size of your head. Put your fists right between your inner knees, and more or less, this would be about hip distance apart for most of us. Look at your second toes. The second toe should line up with the middle of the ankle and the knee. Now on your sitz bones, get your flesh away from the sit bones. Rock forward on your sit bones. Rock back on your sits bones. Now come to the very center and notice that if you come just slightly forward of that center position, you can get just a nice lumbar curve. This posture, this setting the foundation, we set the foundation in both our feet and the sits bones. When you set the foundation, it has a way to open you to the practice. We set a foundation, we're open to grace. So as you pause, this is a nice home base for us in chair yoga, just like Tadasana or standing tall is in the Hatha Yoga practice with standing postures. As you breathe in and out through the nose, see how this posture allows you to elongate the spine. Allow your arms to just relax on top of the thighs. Take the heads of your arm bones back so you get this nice opening in the upper chest. You breathe in and you breathe out long. So that's the first principle of alignment, to set a good foundation and to be open to grace, to be open to learning, to being a new student each time you practice yoga. The second principle is called muscular energy. Muscular energy involves engaging our muscles to protect the joints and the bones. One way you could do that is just imagine that the muscles surrounding your bones engage so much. One of the easy ways to apply that is to spread your fingers and engage. As you bend your elbows, your fingers are spread, your heart is open. As you spread your toes, you notice how the legs engage so fully. Another way to apply this is to take a rolled towel or a block or a book and put it right between the inner thighs. Now squeeze that item, just squeeze in. It's called hugging the midline. You draw in so that you feel the legs engage so fully. A third way to engage is to draw energetically from the toes all the way to the pelvis, from the fingers all the way to the arms and to the heart, so that you get this nice engagement from the periphery to your core. So 3 ways to engage muscular energy. That's principle number 2. Principle number 3 is called inner spiral. We've engaged the foundation so fully. In inner spiral, if you press down through the base of your big toe and imagine a spiral of energy going around your leg, and this spiral of energy goes all the way up to the pelvis, and at the pelvis it draws the inner thigh back and refines a nice lumbar curve. It helps to open the hips. That's inner spiral, starting at the base of the big toe and weaving its way all the way up to the pelvis. The next principle, principle number 4 in Anusara Yoga, is outer spiral. Outer spiral has an external rotation of the upper inner thigh, and it's called the contracting spiral. Imagine that circling around the leg. And these principles of alignment are all sequential. You set your foundation, you engage your muscles, you have an inner spiral to expand the pelvic area, an external rotation of the inner thighs allows you to balance that expansion out to contain. The 5th principle of alignment is after you expand and contract in the spirals, you expand once again in organic energy. You root down from the pelvis to the feet. You expand up from the pelvis to the crown of the head, and you can reach out through your fingertips. Let's apply the 5 principles of alignment into a second yoga pose. So the home base in chair yoga of our postures is to sit tall, to sit slightly forward on the sit bones. You set your foundation through your feet and through your sit bones. You're drawing in and engaging the muscles of the legs and the arms. And as you do, the upper inner thighs are drawing down. You create just a little bit more lumbar curve in that action. And through a nice engagement of your feet, you externally rotate that contracting spiral, and finally you expand out from the pelvis all the way to the crown of the head. You feel this nice length. That's one pose, our seated pose. Now let's try the 5 principles in Virabhadrasana number 2. Virabhadrasana number 2, or warrior pose number 2. Come to the form of the pose warrior 2 by stepping your feet nice and wide apart. Turn your right toes out, your left foot back, and lift your arms up. So we're in the form of the pose. Now see if we can refine the form of the pose all the way from the foundation, from the feet to the crown of the head. So as you set a firm foundation, you draw the 4 corners of your feet firmly down. You hug in, you draw the feet in toward the midline of your stance to really engage the muscles, a strong muscular energy. The second principle of alignment. The inner spiral is represented by the back leg. The inner thigh draws back to create the spaciousness. The tailbone draws down to create a more of an external rotation on the front leg. Now you expand so fully as you root down from the pelvis to the feet. You expand from the pelvis to the crown of the head and out through your fingertips as you do the full pose with organic energy, full expansion. You can even apply the external rotation and the internal rotation, those spirals, as you externally rotate the upper arm, internally rotate the forearm. You get this nice engagement. Externally rotate upper arm, internally rotate forearm. You take your gaze out. And there we have the 5 principles of alignment in Anusara Yoga. These are great tips to remember in every pose, whether you're doing a standing pose practice or you're seated in the chair, to always remember these 5 principles of alignment to engage more fully in your yoga practice. Thank you for joining me in this exploration. Namaste.